So this is, we'll begin with the adrenal gland actually on top of the kidney. So the adrenal gland is also called suprarenal gland. It has the outer cortex and inner medulla. The outer cortex makes two hormones that you guys should know, which is the mineralocorticoids and the glucocorticoids. Mineralocorticoids mediate salt balance in the blood, and then the glucocorticoids secretes cortisone or cortisol, which is a long-term stress hormone. Then we get to the kidney itself. The kidney has an outer capsule, so this is called the renal capsule, which provides structural integrity for the kidney. Then the kidney also has an outer cortex, so all this outer part, and then inner medulla where you see the pyramids. So in the medulla we have these renal pyramids, and this is a sort of 3D version of it. The renal pyramid comes to a point called the papilla. Between the pyramids we have some structures called the renal column. So then we have a lobe of a kidney which can take basically a pyramid as well as some of the cortex and kind of just do a sort of a pie shape like that. So the cortex in the medulla contains the nephron, and the nephron filters blood to make urine. So when the urine is completely made, it will actually come out of the papilla. So there's a papillary duct in here. It goes into the minor calyx. So the minor calyx are structures that initially wrap around the papilla and they catch the urine. And then when two minor calyces come together and converge, two or more, it's called a major calyx. So we can call like number 12 a major calyx, we can call this area a major calyx. And then once all the major calyces converge, right before the ureter, this region is called the renal pelvis. And so then the pelvis leads the urine to the ureter, and the ureter is a muscular tube. It has smooth muscle that moves the urine to the bladder with peristalsis. Okay, so other structures that you can see here are the renal artery and renal vein. When they come into the kidney, so this region of the kidney is called the hilum, where these structures come in and out. There's a split, right? So the renal artery becomes the segmental artery. And the segmental artery will come up in between the lobes, and in the column they're called interlobar, right? So the interlobar blood vessels will come up and around the base of your pyramid, and that's called the arcuate blood vessels, so the arcuate vein and arcuate artery. Then as they project into the cortex, this is called the interlobular arteries and veins. The veins are a little bit different. The veins, interlobular veins, arcuate vein, interlobar vein, and then there's no segmental vein as you move out, so it just remains interlobar as you move on to renal vein. Okay, so I think that's it for this structure. And coming over to the lobe, so in this image you can see the blood vessels coming up in the column. So this is your interlobar artery and vein, arcuate artery and vein. Coming up into the cortex is your interlobular artery, interlobular vein, and you can see that the interlobulars branch and they come into the corpuscle. So these little round structures are called corpuscles, and that's where you have the glomerulus, and that's where you're filtering the blood. What you can see here also are the nephrons, so the white structures. So we have the corpuscle that's cut open, so we can see that Bowman's capsule is kind of the white part, and then this first part here that's twisted is the proximal convoluted tubule. So as blood is coming into the glomerulus, which is the knot of capillaries inside, it's filtered, and the filtrate is losing a lot of both wastes and nutrients. So this initial part, this proximal convoluted tubule, will contain cuboidal cells with really long microvilli that reabsorb the nutrients. And then the filtrate will go on and come down. So this loop is called the loop of Henle. It has a descending limb and an ascending limb. Then you come up and it kind of becomes curly again, and this is the distal convoluted tubule. And the distal convoluted tubule connects to the collecting duct. So you can see that this nephron over here is also sort of connecting to the same collecting duct. So one collecting duct can actually take sort of the filtrate from several nephrons. And yeah, so as we move down the collecting duct, as it hits the papilla, it changes name to papillary duct. So this right here is called the papillary duct. And the papillary duct will have the finished urine, and then all these little holes will secrete that urine into this catchment. So this is technically the minor calyx, right? All right. Other things that you can see here, the blood vessels that are kind of branched like this, these are all the peritubular capillaries. So these are the blood vessels that wrap around the nephrons that help to reabsorb those substances that you want back into the bloodstream. You can also see that there is a nephron that's deeper down and longer. This is called a juxtamedullary nephron, and this one is higher up and shorter, and this one's called a cortical nephron. Okay, just two different types of nephrons. All right, so I think that's it. Moving on to this part here. So this is an expansion of the corpuscle. So we have the corpuscle has a covering called the Bowman's capsule. So this is the parietal layer of Bowman's capsule. The visceral layer of Bowman's capsule here is in this peachy colored paint, and this is visceral layer of Bowman's capsule. The cells are actually called podocytes, and the podocytes are part of the filtration membrane. So the filtration membrane being three parts, right? There's three things that provide the filter that holds certain things back into the bloodstream and allows the other things out. So the first thing is just the endothelium of the capillary itself. So the glomerulus that you can see down here is fenestrated, but the wall of the endothelium, or the wall of the capillary, is one. The basal lamina, or the basement membrane, is the second one. And then the third layer of the filtration membrane is your podocytes. And they create slit, open, like, what are they called? These foot processes make filtration slits, and that's what also helps to filter the blood. So we can see this space here, so that space would catch the filtrate, and the filtrate would go on and go into this initial segment. So this area would be the proximal convoluted tubule, and you can see cuboidal cells, but it's lacking the long microvilli. Okay, so moving up here, we have the blood vessel coming in. So this is the afferent arteriole, and it's cut open, so you can see juxtaglomerular cells. And those cells can secrete renin, which indirectly increase blood pressure. Blood comes in, the glomerulus is the fenestrated capillary, blood comes out, the efferent arteriole, and nothing special is going on there. Then this structure is the distal convoluted tubule coming back up and hitting the corpuscle. And what this shows is number 37. There's the area where the cells become tightly packed. So this is called macula densa. These cells are specialized to detect the solute concentration. So your sort of kidney knows whether you are dehydrated or you have extra fluid, so it can detect the concentration of all that stuff. So be careful, because macula densa is just down here. It's not the rest of the cells. What's missing here in the center, there should be some mesangial cells that secrete erythropoietin, but they're not in this model, okay? But these special cells, the macula densa cells and the mesangial cells, those all create something called the juxtaglomerular complex. And that's it.